So welcome back to another video of Project Rally. Some twists and turns, more rust holes, I'll show you in a minute. I can't remember what the last video was about. I was going to sell it because it's very rusty and I thought I can't be bothered with rust. But, you know, there's worse cars out there. So we'll start where we are now. I'm surrounded by engine parts, we'll come on to that in a minute. So we've been back on with the Mk2. Helping hands all over, focusing on the front end because that's the worst end, or what we thought until we started doing some bits. But hey-oh, it's rust, it's metal, we can weld it, we can fix it. No fault of the car really, it's probably just because it hasn't been, had repairs done very poorly, especially on the B-pillar, body filler. Come on. But we're here now, so we might as well get it done and done properly. So here we go, I'll go over to what we're doing with the car and then we'll come back here and focus on the cool stuff. Right above where the brake line goes, a bit more rust on there but just surface, so that's going to need patching and welding. Now, we were looking at the welding and it made sense just to get the subframe out of the way. It's only 4 bolts and a pinch button steering rack. Lob that out of the way and then we've got more access to the underside, and it looks pretty crusty anyway, so you'll probably find under there you're going to have some rot and some cracks, so we'll deal with that later on. And the passenger side, we've got 2 more holes, another big hole just in there, and then that little hole is actually just from one of the plastic grommets, which would be, where is it, there it is. They're just sitting there for like the arch and stuff to go in, so that's not a big problem. Now it looks cruddy up there, but it looks worse than it is. Apart from that, that is a hole we need to sort out again. That is body filler up there, which is not good, so that needs a lot of rework up there. That's just surface. So it's pretty solid under there, to be fair. It looks worse than it is, but it is really solid. Little hole on the knot jacking point. We can sort that. That I said didn't look too bad, but once the wife started getting the wire brush drill on it, it went through, so needs some welding on there. But hey-oh, the engine made it looking a lot more tidier. Again, solid, all under there, we're happy with. Just needs a bit more work, but it makes sense to get the subframe out of the way so we can just concentrate on what we need to do. Again, this side, yep, that's just surface. Stick a patch on there. Bit of seam seal around these corners, and then we can get on to getting some spray on it. So we've got the loom in from a very good friend, so I know it all works. Brake servo is in, so at least that's one job done. Then we can start concentrating on the rest of this in here, like brake lines, etc. As you can see, that side has always got some white stone chip on it. It looks a hell of a lot better. There's obviously the few patches need to be weld, which I can just finish and cover up after that. Again, this side has had a covering of stone chip sort of primer on there just to give it a good covering. It'll get a nice solid cover once I finish those welding points. So there we are. It's looking a lot better. It's a lot more rust than I wanted, but again, the underside of the chassis legs under there is strong, apart from those 2 bits on the side, so we'll get all that fixed and squared away. So as you know, I love 16 valves. So I probably mentioned in one of the other videos we were going to run a 9A 16 valve on bike carbs. I've since got bored of that idea because we all know I like K-jet, I like turbos, so we're going to turbocharge it. So it's going to be a K-jet turbo, aka sort of Turbo Technics kind of period. I'm not going to say done better, but with my own touch on it. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because over the years I've learned a lot of things. I know how the Audi UR Quattro system works, relevant to boost, fuel, all that sort of stuff. And there's a couple of ideas I popped on my head working between those two, how the warmth regulators work, and all that good stuff. So it's never going to make millions of power. That's not the idea of it. It's just fun. So this is our block. Eagle Eye viewers will notice this is an 8 valve block. It's also not a 1.8, it's a 2 litre. So this is an ABK cylinder block from the likes of the Audi 80s and 90s. 115 brake, very understressed. Now, I was going to do the 9A, overbore it because it needs overboring because cylinder 4 is pretty nasty, with some 83mm pistons, which have been 2008 CT or 2010 on that. and I was going to use Nissan pistons. Now, why I was going to use Nissan pistons over there? Well, Nissan pistons are cheap. I'm not spending thousands building this car. That's not the idea of it. It's doing what we can do, minimal outlay, making everything work reliably, have a bit of fun. Nissan 200SX, the 1.8 turbo, pistons were the sake of 60-70 quid versus the pistons I put in my 16 valve were nearly 800 quid. Slight price difference. So I said, okay, I can overbore that, do that. They're 20mm wrist pins, so they fit the stock rods. But I haven't got a crank for that block. It went somewhere else. I thought, well, I've got this 2 litre block. Why don't I strip this, use a crank out of that to that to that to that? But then I was like, well, these pistons are a lot better designed for turbo use because I need to lower the compression to about 8.5 to 9 for turbos. So, how are we going to do an 8 valve and a 16 valve head? Funny enough, they fit together. So, as you can see, this is our 8 valve block. This is a 16 valve head gasket, obviously used because it is. So, the main things we need to look at in the cylinder head, we've got oil drain, we've got head bolts, we've got oil passageways, we've got coolant passageways. Again, we've got oil drain, we've got oil pressure, oil drain again. They all need to line up. So 16 valve head gasket, whop that on the locating lug. There we go. So we've got our oil pressure because it comes up from the block into this tiny hole. And if you've noticed before, the drilling or in this gap here where my finger is bigger than any of the head bolt ones. Do you want to know why? Because the oil pressure comes up, fills through the little hole, fills this gap and gets up into the cylinder head. So the head gasket works, so our head's going to fit on, which we know anyway, so it does. Now the next thing is pistons. Obviously we know the pistons are in there, but they're not how we want them. So this is our 8 valve piston. Now this is the front of the engine and this is the rear. Now we've got this raised lip here, and also this back of the piston, about a third of it, is thicker than this bit, as in this ring here. Now why is that? It's simple piston design for the engine. So an 8 valve has the spark plug sitting about here. Now this round here is called a squish band, and this is a raised squish band. Now it's the way manufacturers get around manufacturing parts that work sort of cheaply in a way, because you can't fork out thousands of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds of development getting perfect pistons in it, because these blocks go in so many different cars and it's all sort of cost related. But you know, the best of both worlds. Now why is this here? This raised section, when the piston comes up, it is a squish. It squishes against the cylinder head, and the idea of the squish band is to squish all the air and force it towards the spark plug. Now this is higher here because you want this bit to be doing the most squishing, good technical term, the most squishing on this side of the cylinder head to force the air down into the bowl towards that spark plug. Now a 16 valve is different, the spark plug is in the middle, so we don't want that. We want the squish to direct it all towards the centre. So what we need to do is machine these parts down on all 4 of them, and also we need to measure the squish band across here and then machine probably from about there round just the wall of the bowl to marry up this. So we want a perfect squish band all the way around, which means on our combustion cycle, again going back to an engine being efficient, efficiency equals performance and power. If that piston's more efficient at squeezing all that mixture into the cylinder, it's going to get the spark to the spark plug quicker, which means it's going to ignite quicker. And also, imagine my fingers with all the molecules, they're getting squished, they're going down the bowl, hitting each other and coming up onto the spark plug. Imagine all that is coming in, it's all intertwining and getting a better burn rate. Now that's important because we want to keep detonation away from this engine, because we're running stock rods. Why am I running stock rods? Because they did back in the day and they work. We're not running silly high boost. I'll show you the turbo later on. It's going to be low boost till we get bored. I might turn it up and see what happens. But currently it will be stock rods, remachine pistons to get everything working how it wants to be. Obviously there's some differences with the block. obviously this would have been transverse, so front car, engine, normal Audi stuff, axle about here. So this has obviously got to change. That's a different system, so we'll use the 9A stuff on here and the 9A part on there. Again, the oil pump is going to be different because we've got a different sump, so we'll drop the sump off, put the other sump on it, change the oil pump and the pickup. Oil pump's probably the same, the pickup's going to be different, but again we need to drop all that off anyway to get one of our pistons out so we can redesign that how we want to. A bit more of a closer look, you can see the step at the back of here and slightly, it's not that much wider as in from the back to there. So it's an 82.5mm piston, 92.8 stroke crank, which is a 1984cc, plenty enough. I mean, yeah, we could overbore it and to have bragging rights and more cc, but it's pointless, it's not going to get us anywhere. The idea is just to have some fun. This block cost me £65 about a year and a half ago. Bargain. One of those things that pops up in the eBay, think I can't let that go, especially as a 2 litre block. Again, it would have had a distributor on here, that distributor's since gone somewhere else, so that'll just be capped off with your normal 9A your normal 9A block. This also has like a little cushion in it, oil-filled cushion compared to the normal KRs. So pistons as well. This is, excuse a little Renault. So this is the piston from the Nissan 200SX. That's the numbers on it. Now it's 83mm, which is what we want bore. Obviously 20mm, this is a 9A rod, and it fits on there. The only difference is you've got to do a little bit of machining on the sides to fit in that gap there. But when you're looking for cost effective, and it's also got cutouts which fit the oil squirters on 16 valve block, which is handy. Now the idea of that was just cost. It's like, you know, we want to have some fun. We've got an array of bits here, obviously in the manifold's head. It's going to have twin KR exhaust cams. Why not? Because we're getting old school, we want some cool stuff on it. So there it is, here's an update. This is our block. Modify our pistons to get a perfect squish band. Then we need to CC the block to work out our compression ratio, because obviously we're changing the design of the piston. I know what these CCs of these are at the moment, but obviously we're going to redesign that. I need to redo that, make sure all of them are as perfect as possible. Then we can CC it, work that out. Then we might need to have the block decked, we might have the head skimmed, or we might get a couple of options of head gaskets to put on there, which gives us the best of both worlds. Now again, I'm not skimping money just for the sake of it. If I need to spend money to make it work, I will. But if there's ways I can do it using the VW Audi parts catalogue, which is vast, then I can do that, and that's what I'll do. So there you go. That's the update. I'll update in the next video when we have a big whizzy thing on the back of it and all the head on, and everything sort of, what's the word? Dry fitted, something like that. But there you go. So there you go, there's an update on our rags to riches rock box, to be honest. We'll get there and it will be very good. We've got a paint scheme ready for it. It's similar to what the Rally would have been with the two-tone blue stripes, but again, my own touch on it, using VW stuff, the VW colours, not cut, well, colours as in the paint codes. That'll all come to light later on down the line once we get some work, but yes, I've got a lot of welding to do. Again, could be worse cars out there. There we go. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Sure.